My name is Hannah, and I'm 26 years old. At 3 a.m., Mom stole my keys to help my sister escape. And that single moment cracked my life open like glass on concrete. I wish I could say the night began with shouting or drama, but it didn't. It began with the quiet hum of the refrigerator and the ache behind my eyes from another long shift, the kind that leaves you too tired to think and too wired to sleep. I had just set my 98K SUV's key fob on the kitchen counter, the same place I always did, and I remember pausing for half a second because something felt off, like the house was holding its breath. My parents' place had that smell of old coffee and lemon cleaner, and my sister's door was shut, which was the missing keys at 3 a.m. Unusual because she never closed it unless she was hiding something. I brushed the feeling aside, went to my room, and locked the door out of habit, not fear. Sometime later, a floorboard creaked, then another. The house shifted, whispering with movement, and I told myself it was just Mom checking the doors, like she always did when she couldn't sleep. At 3 a.m., Mom stole my keys to help my sister escape. Those words sound unreal even now, but they're the truth. I woke to a soft click, the unmistakable sound of a key ring being lifted, and I sat up, heart-threading. But by the time I reached the hallway, the counter was bare. No keys, no fob, just the faint echo of a door closing somewhere deep in the house. I stood there in my socks, cold tile biting my feet, listening to a car engine turn over outside. Not mine, I told myself. Parents helping the sister escape. Because mine was parked out front and I would have heard it. But then the engine revved again, familiar and expensive, and panic crawled up my spine. I rushed to the window and saw taillights disappearing into the dark. My SUV rolling away like it had chosen them over me. My phone buzzed with a message from Mom that said, "Don't overreact, it's an emergency." That was it. No explanation, no apology. I didn't sleep after that. I sat on my bed staring at the wall, replaying every argument. Every time my parents had chosen my sister first. Every time I had been told to be patient, to be the responsible one, to understand. By morning, the 98K SUV was totaled. The call came just after sunrise, when the sky was still pale and unforgiving, and the number on my phone belonged to a local police station. They asked if I owned a black SUV matching my plate. And before I could answer, Mom grabbed the phone from my hand, her nails digging into my wrist, her voice sharp and steady as she said, "Yes, yes, that's ours. What happened?" I watched her face change as she listened, watched color drain from her cheeks as she learned. The car had been found smashed against a barrier on the highway, airbags deployed, front end destroyed. My sister was safe, she said quickly. Too quickly, as if safety was a detail instead of the headline. When the call ended, Mom turned to me with a look I had seen my whole life, the look that said this would somehow be my fault. Mom snapped, "Tell the police you did it." She didn't whisper, she didn't hesitate. She said it like an instruction, like asking me to pass the salt. I stared at her, waiting for the punchline that never came. My father standing behind her, silent, eyes on the floor, already choosing not to choose. My sister wasn't there, she was gone, escaped, protected, while I stood in the wreckage of a decision I hadn't made. I didn't argue because I had secretly swapped the fobs. It wasn't my car she crashed, it was Mom's. That truth sat heavy in my chest, a secret forged weeks earlier when I sensed something like this coming, when I realized the only way to survive in this house was to be smarter than the storm. I had made the switch quietly, carefully, telling myself I was being paranoid, that I'd never need it. Now, as Mom's words hung in the air, "Tell the police you did it," I felt a strange calm settle over me. The house buzzed with tension, with unspoken plans and old loyalties snapping back into place, and I understood finally how far they would go for her, and how far they expected me to fall. By the time the sun was fully up, the house felt smaller, like the walls had leaned in overnight to listen. Mom paced the kitchen, rehearsing versions of the same lie, each one ending with me nodding and taking the blame. Dad avoided my eyes, his silence louder than her snapping voice. The words from earlier kept looping in my head. Mom snapped, "Tell the police you did it." She said it again, too, softer this time, like she was doing me a favor. She talked about family, about sacrifice, about how my sister was fragile and how I was strong, and how strong people carry weight so others don't have to. I let her talk. I let her believe I was breaking. Inside, I was counting minutes. When the police arrived, their shoes tracked dust across the entryway, and one of them glanced at the empty driveway, then at me. My heart didn't race the way I expected. It steadied. They asked where I was between 3 a.m. and dawn. And before I could answer, Mom stepped in with a story polished smooth by repetition. She said I'd been upset, reckless, that I'd taken the SUV in the middle of the night. She said it like she was disappointed, not desperate. I watched the officer's pen pause. He looked at me, waiting. I didn't argue because I had secretly swapped the fobs. It wasn't my car she crashed, it was Mom's. I told them I was asleep, that my phone showed no movement, that my security app logged my door as locked all night. I handed over my phone calmly, the way people do when they're telling the truth. Mom's jaw tightened. The officers asked about the keys. I said they'd been on the counter. Mom interrupted, said she'd moved them for safekeeping. The room went quiet in that special way it does when adults realize a story is cracking. Then one officer asked a question that shifted everything. Whose vehicle was registered to which key fob? Mom blinked. I felt the moment tip. I explained evenly that weeks earlier I'd swapped the fobs because my sister kept borrowing my car without permission and I needed to know which was which. I said I didn't want conflict. I wanted clarity. The officer nodded and made a note. Dad finally looked up, fear flashing across his face like he'd just seen the end of a bridge. When they asked for Mom's fob, she hesitated, then handed it over. The serial numbers didn't lie. The wrecked SUV matched her fob, her insurance, her name. The air left the room. Mom's mouth opened, then closed. She tried to laugh it off, said it was a misunderstanding, said she had only taken the keys to help my sister escape a bad situation, said she had planned to put them back before morning. The officer's voice stayed gentle and firm as he explained consequences, reports, insurance claims, and false statements. I watched my mother shrink in real time, the authority she wielded over me dissolving under fluorescent light. When they left, the house was silent, except for the tick of the clock. My sister called then, cawing, asking if everything was okay, asking if Mom was mad. Mom didn't answer. Dad sat down heavily. I stood by the door with my jacket on, the calm still holding me together. I told them I was moving out that day. Mom said I was overreacting. Dad said we'd talk later. I shook my head. I packed fast, hands steady, taking only what was mine. As I carried the last box out, Mom followed me, her voice brittle, saying, "Families don't keep score." I stopped on the porch and turned back. I told her, families don't steal keys at 3 a.m. Don't total someone else's future. Don't ask one child to bleed so another can run. She had no answer. Driving away, I felt lighter than I had in years, like the road finally belonged to me. The story didn't end with sirens or handcuffs. It ended with distance, with boundaries, with the quiet power of telling the truth and letting it stand. If you're watching this and you've ever been the responsible one, the quiet one, the one expected to take the fall, know this. Clarity is a kind of freedom, and sometimes the bravest thing you can do is refuse to carry a lie that isn't yours. If this story hit home and you want more real, raw stories like this, subscribe to the channel and stay with us.